We're here from Heat Media Day. Very excited to talk to our next guest. A couple of Michigan legends just sitting next to each other now. Duncan Robinson joining us here on the show. You guys want to talk about your undefeated football team? What do you know?
It's early. It's early.
Oh, so you guys?
Yeah. Like we don't celebrate October wins.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, all right. Well,
we don't celebrate those anymore.
It seems like an anti-Miami Hurricanes thing, losing to Middle Tennessee State. So.
No, you didn't lose. To
I don't want
Tennessee
to.
State.
All right, you know what? That's fine.
They almost put up a 50 burger.
That was crazy.
Yep.
Like,
Duncan, how was your summer, man? What was it like for you?
It was good, man. It's kind of uneventful in a lot of ways. Just kind of spent a lot of time here, spent some time with some family, traveled just a little bit, but for the most part, just was mostly in Miami, just trying to get right.
is what you do, and it's a crazy thing. You are a 3-point shooter, and there's ups and downs throughout your career and whatever. How hard is that to just power through?
Well, I'd like to think I'm a basketball player first.
Well,
I know
I
I
mean,
shoot a lot of threes,
right.
but yeah, I mean, it's kind of what comes with the territory. Having kind of building the resolve to just kind of be steady and not get too high, too low. It's something I've learned over time, man. It's not an easy thing, and it's something that you kind of have to force yourself to learn, through adversity. So, but yeah, man, it's just kind of part of it. Everybody has ups and downs in their various, walks of life, and these are the challenges I'm dealing with, and I'm doing pretty good.
Is that kind of one of the things of becoming more of a veteran, that you learn how to kind of get through those situations? Because I know as a young player, when you're trying to, get there, that could be a little bit more frustrating. But as a veteran, as a guy who, has already gotten the security, that you kind of approach it in a different way.
Yeah, you've just seen more. You know what I mean? Like throughout your career, the more you see, the more you're kind of prepared for. And for me, like having those experiences, the positives and the negatives, like both of those are things you can look back on. Moments where maybe things aren't going so well, understanding that you made it through those stretches, and then also being able to look back on times like, all right, well, I can do this. I've had stretches where I've been an impactful player, that made shots, all that sort of stuff. So just having like a wealth of experiences, the positives and the negatives to look back on, I think is valuable for sure.
It was such a steady thing though for you. I mean, like since after your first year here, like you were, starting basically every game. You were like an Iron Man for this team. How, I guess, hard was it, reflecting on this year with, you being out of the rotation, and then what did that do for you in this summer as far as, showing what you want to do this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a great challenge. It's something that you don't necessarily expect, and in many ways you're not prepared for. But I think that, you can never be fully prepared for a moment like that, but I feel like I had been through certain things in my career, moments in my career where you're prepared for pieces of it, and then from there, like you just got to learn and grow. And I think there's a lot to take away from last season individually, and then also as a team, and then basically just the foundation that's set going into the off season, right? Obviously adds for me personally like motivation to an even further extent. Chip on the shoulder, all that sort of cliche stuff that you can fill in, but it was more about just looking at myself honestly and being able to really evaluate like, all right, what do I have to do? Not getting caught up in emotions of like, oh, well, I should have this, that, or whatever. Because the reality is like that's not doing anybody any sort of help. The reality is you got to be able to look at yourself and really be real about where you are and what you need to do to improve. And that's what I tried to do early on in the off season. And I think this off season, just the kind of progression of it, starting out from a point where all that stuff was so fresh, and then just working through all that, I think was something that I learned a lot about myself, and I feel like I improved a lot as well. Obviously as a basketball player physically, but then also just like kind of between the ears, because that's super important at this level, any level, but particularly I think at this level.
From your standpoint though, like did you, once you kind of took all that inventory on yourself, like did you, like, was there a moment of relief where you're like, all right, we're kind of going into this, all that stuff? Was there a moment where you just threw it all away and you're kind of just turning it all in, or do you harbor some of that stuff to help you go into it, like the frustrations of last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hold on to it, but you got to be cognizant of what you're holding on to. You got to hold on to the right stuff, right? Like you can't hold on to necessarily the emotions of like getting all kind of been out of shape about this, that, or whatever, because I think ultimately if you hold on to those things, they can just end up getting in your way. So that's why I think it's important to take like some of the emotion. You have to remember the emotion, but like take some of it out in terms of how you're actually evaluating what you need to improve on, or the adjustments that you need to make. So yeah, I mean, it's not like a perfect science either. It's something that you just kind of play with, and as the off season goes on, there's like different progressions of it. There's progressions of that feeling so fresh, and then moving forward through it. And it's funny, we're here getting ready to start another season, and a big part of me feels like that stuff was like just yesterday, like it's still there are parts of it that are fresh, so you want to try to remove it as much as you can, but not forget it.
Does it make it easier to move on, like when you go deep into a playoff run and then you have that quick turnaround? Is it harder or easier to just leave it behind and move forward, or do you still kind of, because you haven't had that period of time to reset?
Yeah.
Is it a little more difficult?
I mean, I'll tell you, man, the NBA offseason is long, bro. Like, it is long. Like, we played, whatever. We were one of the last 3 or 4 teams standing, and I still feel like we got plenty of time off. Fortunately, I haven't had the experience, I guess my first year when you're done in April, but, like, I can't imagine what those teams are feeling like coming back.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
That almost feels like eternity, I got to imagine. Right. So, in that sense, I mean, I guess it's a quick turnaround, but relative to what we've had, the last couple of seasons with the COVID season and the bubble season, like, it feels like plenty of time. It really does.
Duncan, we appreciate the time, man. We are excited.
Quick stop, huh?
Quick stop.
In and out. There you go.
They got people behind you like it's the Oscars.
No, I'm mad at you.
Yeah.
Play me out.
We appreciate the time, man, and we're looking forward to another year.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
All righty.